A ZentraCast is a space to join some of Europe's most inspired leaders in original conversation. When everything in your organization, career, or even your life seems inside out, demanding change, or you simply feel that there has to be something more to life than you experience now, this is the place for those seeking the wisdom and experience of personal transformation. Together, we will explore the intersection of our material and spiritual worlds and how we align this perceived separation in our professional and private lives. Stick around, you might just walk away with the insight you seek for the best version of you to show up. Hello, dear Zentranauts. I'm Marco Howen and your host for the next 60 minutes of hopefully very engaging dialogue and for sure a lot of insights for all of us. Today, I have the immense pleasure to have an original conversation with a very special human being, Jil Haberstig, a business psychologist, coach, advisor who worked as a recruiting and employer branding expert. She is also the founder of Lux Web3 Club, so very into new technologies and blockchain and crypto. And she calls herself a mental health activist, which I think is very interesting. So we met actually on LinkedIn after I read one of her very incredible posts, and I was so blown away by her simplicity and the heart openness that I reached out and, well, we had a Zoom call and the rest is history. So Jil is just at this intersection of hiring and inspiring and has this link to the whole human resource sector approach, which allows us to get data together to talk about what works and doesn't in today's leadership and corporate culture. So, hey Jil, how are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for inviting me, Marco. It's a pleasure being here today. And yeah, you can eventually hear it. I'm still a bit, I caught a cold, so my voice is not the best today, but I hope my message is clear.
Well, we count on the message anyhow. So thank you so much to still show up, even so you're still in getting better. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Jil, let me kick off with my favorite question. Who are you? Not to be mistaken by what do you do?
Yeah.
Who are you? Just pure and simple. Who is that woman you see in the mirror every morning?
I get it. Okay. So first of all, in your intro, you were talking about personal transformation, and personal transformation is something very big and important in my life. It's kind of the key to my personal growth. I worked and still work a lot on myself, and I'm kind of passionate about self-development, let's say. And I also like to support others becoming the best version of themselves, whatever that means. This is not in my hand, it's in their hand. And every one of us has a personal mission, and I like to support to unfold that in private environments, but also in business contexts. So I like people and ideas growing and thriving. What else can I say? Or
tell me who you are in I am. What would you put behind I am?
I am powerful.
I love it. I am. You're cute.
I'm still powerful, and I'm driven by joy. This is also very important.
I am joy. Wow,
I'm joy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was really blown away by your statement. I'm a mental health activist.
Yeah.
What is a mental health activist? or what is it what you see in that?
Yeah, actually, I don't know where to start.
Wherever you feel,
Mental,
wherever it feels best.
yes. I see a lot of people struggling with their mental health. I usually get to know that in a business surrounding, within companies. And then I get to know that a lot of people have difficulties with their mental health. And I think if we would be able to understand ourselves, and the way we act and think and work, it would be so much easier to go through life and also to be an employee. And that's why I like to support people understanding themselves. Yeah, and I never understood why we don't start getting to know ourselves in school or in university. This is kind of, we get a lot of knowledge, we gain knowledge, but we lose ourselves on the way. And we are full of knowledge. And yeah, I would like to give people the opportunity to be themselves again. Yeah, that's why I call myself a mental health activist. I'm very passionate about that. And wherever I cross or I come across somebody, um, people easily get to know that this is what I'm talking about, or mental health is what I'm passionate about, because I can't shut up.
So activist doesn't mean that you glue yourself against the wall or something like that. So it's
Not at
not
all.
that kind of activism.
I'm a
How does it
peaceful activist.
well, that's peaceful too. It just hurts them, but
True.
more or less. But what is this? How do you express this activism?
um, when it comes to mental health, people tend to not look at their mental health. They try to ignore their issues. They try to um, see what is going wrong in other people's lives, rather than seeing what is happening within themselves. And I know sometimes it's hard for others, but I'm I think I'm able to make them be aware of their own issues, and that's painful sometimes. And I know that because of that, or because of being this activist and having this role, it's not easy all the time to be around me, because it sometimes is painful. But at the end of the day, um, my intention is to make everybody great, and everybody deserves to be led by joy. It's not only me who is joy. Everybody is joy, and I would like to see everybody thrive. That's
It's really
why that's why I'm
interesting.
doing that.
It's really, thank you, and it's really interesting what you say, because when I hear activist, I hear external action.
Mm,
And when I talk about personal leadership, because I don't like to talk about personal development anymore, but if I talk
yeah,
about personal leadership, it always starts first inside, because
yeah.
whatever I'm addressing, it always goes through me first.
Hmm.
How do you relate that to activism or to a mental health activist?
I think I also did a lot to myself in order to create something within others. But like I said, it's a very peaceful approach. Um, Usually, what people say to me after a conversation or something like that, they often tell me that I do something to them, but they cannot explain what I did to them. And even I cannot explain what I did. But this is what I think is behind this activist or being active thing, because I activate something within others which they cannot express or articulate immediately,
Yes.
but they get to know what it's about. And yeah.
Yeah, that's really it's really interesting. This activate in others.
Mm.
So we cannot activate in others what we didn't activate in ourselves, at least what
Yeah.
we looked at in ourselves. That's interesting. So that's how I relate it now to the inside through us.
Mhm. Okay,
So
got it.
so yeah, I like that. I like that. Um,
And
yeah, I'm
I
part of your
had
club
to,
now. I never thought about that, but I'm part of your mental health activist club now. So we can open up a club like that. I understand. Normally, I always very far away from all this activism. It's an
yeah.
ism. As soon as it is an ism, I don't like it.
Yeah, but it's also about me growing because, like you said, I cannot, um, let's say, teach something to others that I didn't understand for myself. So the role that I chose was quite challenging because I'm constantly working on myself. I'm going to this seminar, this training, I'm doing this, that, blah, blah, a lot of things. And trying to get a clear concept of myself, but also of, let's say, the environment. And then I can go to others and activate them unconsciously, usually. It's not something that I do on purpose. Sometimes, but not all the time. But what I wanted to say
Yeah,
is that also, well, I also need teachers. And I think when you contacted me, it was pretty clear that in this, I'm not the teacher, I'm the student here.
glad
And yeah, I'm learning a lot from you.
both. I learn a lot
Okay.
from you, but yes, I'm a very big big fan of this logic saying once one at one moment in time I'm the Padawan, the other time I'm the master,
Yeah,
and that changes all the time. And if
absolutely.
everybody has that openness in it, well, there are masters which are big masters. Like masters for me is like Yogananda or this kind of or Thich Nhat Hanh. These are masters. I think far away from that in any case, but I think we both can learn from each other in any case. It's like, and it's a special way how we activate that. Talking about activation,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
very often when you are in this master Padawan thing, is that as soon as you think that the master did something not perfectly in your scheme of how you see the world, then he's not good anymore. Then you
Yeah.
kill him,
Okay.
kill your
Hmm.
idols.
Hmm.
And so the master Padawan change between
Yeah.
one person and having one casket and then the other casket on asks from us another layer of depth,
Hmm.
because we have to detach us from this judgment that the master has to be perfect. I'm for sure not perfect, and
Definitely.
nobody is, but I'm not as perfect as Yogananda could be or Thich Nhat Hanh could be in their realm. That doesn't mean that I cannot teach, and it
Exactly.
absolutely doesn't mean that I have to learn.
Hmm.
So I think we have most to learn through this. I call it inspiring in my logic. I call that inspiration. Inspire somebody so that he can inspire me.
Yeah.
It's actually the same, just another language.
Yes, it's right. It's right.
Yeah.
Because everybody is going in their own pace,
Yes.
and you cannot push them. So they have to go in their own way. They have to go their own way. They have to be inspired by themselves. I mean, of course, you can inspire people, but you also need to create the inspiration within somebody. Um, yeah.
Yes. Well, I just thought, will I go off on my inspiration narrative? I will talk for an hour just on that. So I just shut up now because I would love, and I'm pretty sure that everybody who's listening to this would be really interested in, what is a business psychologist?
Oh yeah. Um,
Give us some background.
I heard that many times. So, just to make it clear, I'm not a clinical psychologist,
Yes.
and my focus is on the business context. So, I learned a lot about advertisement. I learned a lot about human resources. I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about how to grow and run a business, and to use psychology within that. For example, one very clear or easy to understand example for business psychologists at work is when you go into a supermarket. Sometimes you enter on the left side, um, and then there comes vegetables, fruits, and then non-food, and so on. Sometimes you enter on the right side, and then comes non-food, and then comes vegetables at the end before you go to pay. This is, for example, done by business psychologists. Usually, they use the data they get with the what do you call them? The wagons that people use, and then
Yeah.
they check where should we place which item to get the best result. Let's say this is one example. For me personally, my path was always human resources. I don't know why, but I felt drawn to it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's, I think, also the most obvious way of using psychology, because when you do job interviews, it's helpful to understand how a brain works and how people act and interact, and where should I sit so that I can make my interview partner feel comfortable, for example. Yeah. So
So
these
on
were
one
two
hand,
examples, and one of them was mine.
so what I understand is, on one hand, it is a data. It's a business psychologist can be a data cruncher, so he gets all these data points from what to and then he creates the perfect experience in a sense. It could even go into UX UI, if I imagine.
Yes. Mhm.
For say, so it's like it's a basis which allows you to go in different everywhere where you want to be in control of behavior, buying
Yes.
behavior, or visiting behavior, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then how is it related to HR? So you said that you like the HR side more. How is it related to HR? What?
So for me, there is a lot of, I mean, there are a lot of topics in HR which are in relation to business psychology. One big example is the culture. The company culture was always very important for me, and let's say a play field for myself to unfold, because the way people interact with each other within a company, I mean, I can sit there for hours and watch them, observe them, and then say, okay, um, you should do this, and this is happening because of that, and things like that. Yeah, that's really something that always caught my interest. And I think the company culture is also the topic that, let's say, caught my interest for many years now. And this is not common for me because I lose interest quite easily.
ADHD, it's like
Yeah,
attention span.
kind of. Yes, yes.
I know that
In
problem.
business context, definitely. But I don't get tired of talking about company culture, and that was something that inspired me also in our conversations, because I feel that we have kind of a similar mission to inspire people. Because when I enter companies and when I look at them also as a business psychologist and also as a coach, what I often see is that the, I mean, companies are taking care of the idea and the product first, and I get that. But at some point of time, they are missing that they are growing a team of people. So everything is built around a great idea, around a great product, and the product can be as good as it can. But if you don't manage to lead your team and also to inspire your team and share your vision with them, it's done. And this is something that I saw many times because I come from the startup environment. And there is a point when companies come to, let's say, 20 people, a team of 20 people, and that's when they start to struggle. And I don't want them to struggle. I want them to thrive. I want them to continue working on their great idea, but they also need to take care of the people first of all.
People first.
People first.
Always people before process. Sorry, I had to get rid of that. That's my mantra.
And it's true. Yeah. So
I had this conversation this morning with the CEO, and it was really interesting because CEOs very often resist that phrase because they link it to, oh yeah, now I have to only take care of people. But this morning, after several coaching sessions and a lot of conversations we had, he actually came and said, Marco, I get this now. Because for me, they are creating the process. If I create the process for them, my experience is that it doesn't work. And that understanding actually is the beginning of a new life, at least in your company, because that's what's normally done. We talked about change management. It was so funny. I said, yeah, well, what's the problem with the word change management? We impose a process and then we change the people so that they accept the process.
Yeah.
Good luck. How good does it work? How many in my last 20 years, how many huge transformation projects with change management worked really? Not many. They all somehow signed and said that it worked, but no, it lags behind the potential so much.
But have there been successful ones as well? Did you experience ones?
Yeah, it can be successful, but only if there is a very, very solid corporate culture of exchange and communication. But even then, there's one company, I'm not working with them, but I'm quite close, and they are looking at hierarchy-less organization. And they are imposing a process which is really based in the most beautiful thing, which is we really want you people to take responsibility and to take power. But it is imposed. And it's a pain. It's a pain. So again, I will stop there because I can go off for next hour on that. But I would like to ask you another question.
I just wanted to add one one
Please.
sentence to this topic, because I think it is easier to rely on processes than on people, because I mean, we are human beings, so interaction and relationship is challenging. Every relationship comes up with some challenges. And we are all afraid of that. Everybody is afraid of relationships. I'm sure of that, because that means you have to open up. And if you rely on processes instead of people, you try to, create a safe space and shut yourself from the people that are involved as well. But what you get back in return is closed people. So you create a team of people who are not open because you are, as a leader, afraid to open up. I just wanted to mention that.
I agree, but I would like to add something. It seems easier because at the end, if it doesn't work, how much easier was it?
It
And
the
so
short the short
it's
term easier.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really, it goes very deep. This goes really, really deep because what is happening is that as it seems easier, it is, we don't know. There's this fear of the unknown. If I start to have to launch myself into opening up for my being open, I use vulnerability. If as a leader, as the founder of my company, I start to be vulnerable. I always say it's not about crying, not that vulnerability I'm talking about. It could be, but
Mhm.
it's not about that. It's about being ready to ask for help, being ready to say, I don't know it all. If I'm open to do that, I don't know what comes back. And I get told that by very powerful CEOs who tell me, yeah, but I don't know how it will be perceived. So
Mhm.
there is the fear of how do they see me when I do that. So it's this fear of unknown which we are having. That's so much deep ingrained in, not in all of us, but in a big part of people, is this fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
What's next? The
definitely.
beauty
Yeah.
is in the unknown, not in the I control it all. Because obviously in the processes side, putting it's like, for me, like being in IT, it was always about installing the next SAP system
Yeah.
or whatever. It could laugh my butt off because it
Yeah, but even
so
as a leader,
sometimes don't work.
you need to take care of yourself first. And that that is also that also means that leaders have to work on themselves first and eventually get rid of this anxiety of the unknown, or being unsure what comes next, because it's all a risk. But if you don't open up, that's at least what I see. You think, yeah, like you said, you think you are safe, but in the long run, you are not, because it's getting worse. And then you have to open up the hard way. It's not helpful.
No, you you said it nicely in our preparation. It's about just embracing it and letting it go. And it's not so much about, you talked about the fear, and it's not so much about not being fearful.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah,
I don't want to work with anybody in this world who has no fear.
me
I don't
neither.
like fear. I want to work with anybody who is ready to overcome and to do things even so he is fearful, who
Yeah,
has the courage to go beyond what he could have in his mind. It's like, it's like when I launched my first webinar about entrepreneur. I had some even friends. So I prepared, and also, but it was the first time I was talking about my system in front of people. I thought I was dying. Like all that. Who am I? What will they say?
Yeah.
It's that, and then saying, okay, it's what I have to do. It's on my path. I decided, and I go there. That's what it is in fear, because we need fear.
Yes.
Fear is
That is also strength.
a very healthy thing.
Yeah. To me, this is what I would call a strength, because
Yes.
strength is not being perfect and having no fear and doing always the right things. It's being okay with what comes up and being okay with having fear. Um, and in the next step, I think only if we allow the fear and if we go through the fear, we can get rid of it. And even I experienced it in my life as well. If I'm afraid of the fear and I try to not look at it, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And then comes a situation where I just can't ignore it. And that's usually very painful. So,
It's
um,
this
yeah.
it's this question of what is the lie you are holding on to? What is the lie you are telling yourself every day? Because the lie only comes on the basis of your fear, because you don't want to approach it. But let me ask you this: what is wrong in today's company culture?
Can you still see me, hear me again?
Yeah, no, you were very very hard thinking. That's what I thought. But then it got longer, so I thought, ooh, I thought my question is very very difficult. Can we start over, because we didn't get anything?
Okay. So I think we are not accepting team members to be a person. We think we pay a salary for somebody to do some tasks and do some work, but we are actually paying the salary for a person, like
Yeah,
a whole person, not half of it, not only the knowledge. There comes a lot more with that knowledge, which is a human being. And human beings can create work. And to me, I think we didn't manage. I mean, I don't want to blame anybody, but we didn't manage to understand that the times where we were sitting and doing our work all day long is gone. It's gone. We are not there anymore. So in my perfect company culture, there would be somebody like a business psychologist or a coach or a psychologist or a therapist, whatever, somebody who would take care of people and doing nothing else than that. And also, we need to understand that we need to uh, pay more attention to people in general in our company. That comes up with some costs in human resources, but I think it's worth it. Otherwise, people are just doing their work. They're quiet quitting. They are not inspired. They are not engaged. They are not committed. I mean, there are so many downsides of not taking care of the people within a company culture or within a company. Yeah, the costs are high to not take care of them. And what I see is we are not taking care enough.
what would you say? So let me be the devil's advocate here, or playing a role. What would you say to me when I tell you, you know, I have my company since 20 years. It gets worse and worse. 20 years ago, they were still working. Now nobody works, and they all want they all want well-being. Now they want to work 4 days a week and still work the 4 days at home, and so on. I cannot hear it anymore.
Hmm. I think we can't, or a lot of CEOs can't hear it anymore because they don't listen clearly.
Yes.
They hear everything on the surface and they are shutting up because it's too much. It's too much. It's too much. This is something I don't want to go into, or something like that. And then they shut up, and people, team members, employees are knocking on the door all the time. What about my 4 days a week? What about my 4 days a week? What about my car? Why don't we add another benefit? Why don't we do this? Why is our company doing like that? So they are complaining all the time. And if we hold the space and allow them to be listened to and to be seen, I think they will not be like this. They will not complain all the time. I actually would like to have an example for how it can work properly. But to be honest, I have no example.
That sounds very bad.
I know.
But no, but there are examples, I see founders who really get aware of that at the beginning. At their startup, it was all about the product, it was all about the idea, and now there were 8 people, and that was great because the 8 people loved each other. They were working together, and it worked fine. And well, but then now they are 35, and now that's another ball game. And there are people who see that. So it is interesting. But what I would love to come back to is listening. Actually, they don't have the ability to respond to that request. They cannot take responsibility. And it's quite interesting because I really look about this defragmenting responsibility, the ability to respond. And if we are in our head, if we are creating as a founder, if you see that all over and all over, say, I do everything for them. I even, and I heard that very recently, I even organized them. I went to the bank so that they could get the loan to get their house. It's like I do so much for them, and that's how they pay me back. In a sense, it's the fact that they're holed up into one specific way of thinking, and through that don't give themselves the ability to respond in the right way. They cannot take responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think?
Because responsibility and responding means being in an interaction and in a connection.
Yes.
And this is what we should embrace, the interaction within the team, within the company. And then we can commit. Yeah, we can commit if we have the connection, a personal connection. And I'm not saying that taking care of people financially isn't a great thing. It definitely is, but it's just one layer. And the layer which is missing is the inspirational part and the connection. Yeah.
So, if we burn it down, leaders have to be able and to hone and to learn how to love, to get into connection. That's what you say.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. And um, the vision should be clear. You know, we can only feel engaged and loyal to a company if we know the goal. What's the bigger goal? And if you, or if I ask, what is the vision here? What is your company? What is your company's goal? Most CEOs and most employees have no idea. They lost their vision. They don't know why they are doing what they're doing. They had a great idea initially, and then at some point of time, they lost track of it, and they are drowning instead of flowing, instead of embracing what they created. Yeah.
I see that actually, and for the first time, very soon, I will have my first PMV workshop, which is Purpose, Mission, Vision workshop with the company. Now, the two owners, they know the vision, they know somehow the vision, the mission, and the purpose, but they cannot. Actually, they are able to explain it to their customers, maybe, but not internally, which is different.
But
And
why?
so, because they never thought about that. That's how startup life goes. It's so it's sad. When you start a startup, you don't think first. Most people are not thinking first on how to organize my people because they
Yeah.
want to have this amazing product out.
They are
And
focused
then
on the
and then and
external
then, and
world.
then some of them are lucky and they get the right people right away and for the launch and everything works. But I work with people who actually were not lucky and they got really sorry effed over. So I will not use the word beep over because they were really unlucky to get
Hmm.
developers who just took advantage of them.
Yeah.
And now that's a situation which is very difficult to handle. So it is in a sense a lot of luck, but in the other sense, it is like in every startup. Actually, that's something we could we could promote. But in every startup logic, you should as of the first bat not only talk about the idea, but you should tell them how to hire to create the values you want to hire so that they are linked to your values. What are the people who I want to work with? And how you can hire these mindsets.
Hmm.
I think it's probably it was always important, but as there was a huge amount of people out there, so this guy was not good, so you fire him, you take another one, and the third one will be good. But that's gone.
Yeah. This
Everybody
situation
listening
is
to
not
this
there
knows
anymore.
that that is not working anymore. You don't find the people.
Yeah.
So it's like you hold on to somebody who is toxic for you, and you don't find somebody new when you fire them. So it's really complex.
Yeah, you can only work with the people that you have. Yeah. And everybody has strength and motivation, internal motivation. You just need to allow them to unfold it.
Yes.
And sometimes what I see, even in, or especially in HR, we hired people to do several tasks. That's how we hired somebody, by their qualification, by their skills, by the knowledge that they gained, not by the personality that they have, not by their mentality or their wisdom or their whatever. And this is something that is changing currently, and it has to change even more. And that also comes up with allowing people to create their own role within a company and to let them be the expert. Because if we think we know how it works, why do we hire people? They know how it works.
Let me go back to my game. I'm the bad guy. I'm the CEO who just says, you know, I have this HR team. I pay a shitload of money to have these guys running around. The only thing they're doing is doing my pay slips, and sometimes they see people when they have a challenge. But my company culture doesn't work at all. What do you tell them?
Um, I would tell them to first start with themselves. You know, you see what in Germany we have a saying, which means that you see a lot of issues in others, but you don't see one of yours. I mean, and you, even as a CEO, need to start with yourself and your inspiration and your company culture. It's not HR who can change everything. And I mean, they can support. But at the end of the day, the CEO has to transform. The CEO has to share the vision that he initially had. It's on him or her for sure, to share and inspire the people. Also, even HR needs to be inspired, so they can they can do the best job. But it's very painful working in HR and in recruiting these days. It's it's painful a lot of times because the way we hired in the past doesn't. It's just not working anymore. So HR is just one department in your company that needs to be inspired. And then they can go out and sell your company as a great employee. But you need to go first.
Yes, that's how did you call it? It's employer branding.
Employer branding.
So employer branding is done by HR.
Mm, Not
How not always? Okay,
not
all right.
always. Sometimes I know companies where in which employer branding is part of the marketing team. Yeah. So they are
It's
kind of serving HR.
yeah, but it's even worse.
I'm not sure about that.
Because I call that then you will create the non-retention cycles of people joining your company and who got sold on an idea which is not a reality internally, and eventually they will find out. And as we are in a market where everybody, at least when we talk about developers or highly qualified people, they find a job tomorrow, they're gone. This is not like 10 years ago. Then somehow they tried to meld in, and well, that was not great for nobody, but at least they were not leaving. Now they're just leaving. It takes them 9 months and they're gone.
Okay, but what do you do as a company? So you have to show up as an employer to the outside world, to
Yeah.
candidates, to
Yeah.
talent.
Yes.
It's just you can do it from this side or from this side. So whether you are selling something to candidates which is not the
It's,
truth, or you actually they get what you tell them. I
yeah.
don't know
What
how
about
to.
walking your talk? What about walking your talk? Doing what you say.
Yeah.
So it's again a responsibility from the leader,
Oh
the
yeah.
top hierarchy, because
I mean, recruiting can do the. I think we had that conversation. Recruiting can do the best job, and try to hire people. And even if they hire somebody with great benefits, great salary, um, amazing employer branding campaigns, and then the candidate becomes an employee, and the company culture that he or she finds is toxic, not working. Nobody is interacting with each other. Everybody is hiding information. So what do? You lose people again. So it's a downward spiral.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, if I would ask, like, what are your top 3 things you think which have to change to get corporate culture healthy?
Communication,
Okay.
authenticity,
Okay.
and being ourselves.
Okay. Communication, can you go deeper?
Sure. Like I said before, we usually don't allow open conversations and communication. And I think, and also what I experienced is that if people and employees are seen and listened to, they are at peace. Everything is fine again. They are motivated again. I also did that in my past company. I had kind of open sessions every Friday. Everybody could come to me and talk to me about whatever. There were no consequences out of the sessions that we had. Sometimes we went for a walk. Sometimes we had those sessions within the office. But that changed a lot because people could open up, they could speak, and they also felt that that I wouldn't take action out of what we were talking about. So they trusted me, and this trust was kind of saving the team.
You
Yes,
were
that's
part of the team?
conversation.
You were part of the team, or you were
No,
external of the team? Okay, interesting.
no, I was in a leading position.
Okay,
So
so you are not part of the team which
no,
were dysfunctional.
no.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, and
What
that
do you,
was in the Corona situation and in the Corona times, and we had a lot of great and open conversations. And afterwards, a lot of complaining didn't appear anymore because finally, at least some team members told me, finally, somebody is listening to me. Yeah, and I think a lot of employees feel that and would like to be seen, would like to be listened to, but they're not. And I
yeah,
think,
yeah, communication is 90% listening, not 90% talking.
yeah, and that's powerful, right?
Maybe more. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Authenticity. You said authenticity. What do you mean by that?
Allowing ourselves to be fearful,
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to be whoever we are, and showing up as the person that we are and being okay. Again, it's not about taking actions out of who we are and what we say. It's just about allowing to communicate and listen and allowing to be our true self. By the way, the second and the third point is eventually the same, but maybe I just want to highlight how important it is. Yeah.
And authenticity can only show up when we know, or when we are thinking and working on that question, who are we? Because otherwise we're always taking external conditioning.
Yeah, but you know the concept of psychological safety within a company. So only if we have a surrounding and a company culture which allows us to be ourselves, we can open up. And I mean, opening up is not sometimes CEOs think that opening up means people are sitting in front of me and they're crying. But that's not what I mean. Opening up is also unfolding our strength, unfolding our potential.
Yes,
That is also being authentic. And
I
this
love
is,
that. I love that.
we only see the one side, like all of the emotions. Ooh, uh, I don't want
Yes, yes.
emotions.
There can be emotions, but that's not
Yeah,
the that's not the standard. It's really about, so when I hear entrepreneurs, they always say, I want my people to be honest with me. Then I tell them, do you trust them? No, first they have to be honest with me. I said, so how can they be honest with you if they don't trust you? I said,
exactly.
what do you mean by that? Well, they don't trust you. If they ask you that question, maybe they will be fired. So they will maybe not ask the question, or they will maybe not tell you what is not working because they are risking for their own environment, for their own, yeah, for their position, for whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
honesty creates trust, but trust creates honesty.
Yeah.
And we
But
forget that way around so often.
and at the
And
end of the day, it's always you first. You have to
yeah,
go
yeah.
first.
You
Whatever you
cannot,
want
it's
from
like,
somebody
this
else,
doesn't,
you first.
it's like when you do this, three are going to your case, not to that side. It's like three fingers, you
Yeah.
show one finger to the other one, and three comes back to you. So what about you? What
Yeah.
about your trust?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about your honesty?
Yeah.
That's where vulnerability comes
Exactly. Oh, I love this mission.
in. Me too. Oh well, at least that. Well, we knew that before we hit this one off, but
No, actually, I really like this mission of embracing exactly that. So I love my job. It's great.
so at least you know who you are.
I try
One
my
last,
best.
anything like we are closing to the hour. So anything you would like to share? You would like to, the last mission, the last message I want to get rid of.
No, I think the message that it has to start with you first
Yes.
was or is very powerful for me. Um, and that also means you need to be inspired before you can inspire others.
Yes.
Um, and to all the CEOs out there, please stay in your flow and don't lose track of your vision that you initially had. Yeah. Be inspired. Point. Period.
Be inspired. Inspiration first.
Yeah. Inspiration first. Exactly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your openness and your kindness and your vulnerability. It was really beautiful, Jill. So I hope that all of you got something out of it, and you have got some insights you didn't have before, or maybe got even deepened in this conversation. And thank you to all of you. See you in April. Looking forward to our next ZentraCast, and have a great evening. Thank you very much, Jill.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oops.